Going to do a sound test. Could someone tell me if they can hear this sound? Thank you, Greg Smith. Thank you. Hey, Callie, I hope that you can share this somehow with your friends that wanted to join. I'm not sure if there's something I can do on my end to help them. All right, 7 minutes until showtime. If you need the ingredients list, if there is something that you are interested in knowing about tonight, I've posted 4 different posts in the last couple days giving information on what we will be doing tonight. I've given an ingredients list. All right, let the countdown begin. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right, my cousin Callie in Vermont, how are we doing? Are we able to get your friends connected to us tonight? I want to make sure that you were able to share this information. I believe it is public on my Facebook, and so great, awesome. Okay, my name is Jill Milton, and I am the owner of Jill's Sweet Treats. And tonight I am going to be hosting a demonstration and teaching people how to make my famous, I will call famous, cookie dough recipe. It is a sugar cookie recipe, and it is going to be a fun time demonstrating to you one of the steps in getting a perfect cookie. I'm doing all of my own technology here tonight, so you'll just have to bear with me as I work here. Okay, there we are. Hi, my name's Jill Milton, and I am the owner of Jill's Sweet Treats. It is a company that I started back in 2004 in my residential kitchen in East Bridgewater. When we moved to Pembroke, I also got a residential kitchen license and continued to bake for friends and families and clients. 16 years into the business, I am back to work full-time as an elementary curriculum coordinator in Norwood, and I am currently 3 classes and a practicum away from getting my license to become a principal. And so with that, I have decided to close Jill's Sweet Treats, and I want to pay it forward. I want to ensure that you will be able to have cookies for many years, and so I want to share my trade secrets, almost 20 years of experience in this business, and I'd like to be able to celebrate the holidays with you safely, given the current situation with COVID and the pandemic. And so tonight will be the first opportunity in what I hope will be many opportunities in the next coming weeks or month for you to learn some of the basics of making sugar cookie dough. And if all goes well with technology, then maybe we will keep going. Next step would be to do some baking, right? Get those cookies in the oven and get them baking, and then learning how to make that perfect icing and learning how to deal with all that comes with the icing, the coloring of the icing, the consistencies of the icing, and I'll be sharing some of my favorite equipment that I have purchased and that I have used over the years. So that's enough of me being on camera. We're going to now go to my setup here in my dining room for the demonstration. So let me get that going. Okay, so I am going to start with simple steps to making the sugar cookie dough. And so I did send out an ingredients list. I'll be going over the ingredients, and I will be sharing the measurements. What I would highly recommend for folks is that you have a piece of paper and that you have a pen or a pencil. I'm a math teacher, so of course I love pencil. And you take as many notes as possible. And I'll stop here and there, and because I'm a one-person show here, I am going to stop when I can, and I will scroll back through the comments either on my laptop that I have going or my phone. And so I'm going to start with the sugar cookie recipe, and I'm going to first of all make sure that I have everything. So when I am making the dough, I use my KitchenAid mixer, and this is my KitchenAid mixer. This is Daisy. So let me introduce you to her. She is a large KitchenAid. I believe she's the 5.5 quart, and the has the crank handle. And so the handle cranks up on the other side, and it has a large bowl, and I have the paddle attachment inside. And so I'll start with that down. And I also have several other things that I've brought into the room, but this isn't much different than what I would do if I was making the sugar cookie dough in my kitchen. So I would have a large spatula. I'm a big fan of the Pampered Chef giant spatula. This is my second one. This is the brand new one, so I brought this out tonight because I knew it would be on camera. I also have a smaller spatula that is a hard plastic that I like when I'm scraping the dough out. So those are two things that I always have. I also have a second bowl, and the first step we'll be doing is mixing the flour mixture. And so I have a separate bowl for that, and that's the first step. That's what I like to do first, is make the flour mixture. And I have a 1 cup measure, stainless steel measurement cup, and this is a 1 cup, and this is one of my favorites. I also have an offset spatula, a giant one, and I use that for leveling. So get all my tools ready. In this recipe, we use 1 teaspoon several times. So I have my 1 teaspoon measurement, and I have a whisk. All right. So those are some of my tools that I have. As far as ingredients go, the sugar cookie recipe, it's all about the butter. So trade secret butter. I like Land O'Lakes salted butter. My favorite is Cabot. I like the Cabot butter, salted. Okay, so Cindy and I need a visual. Is my camera not working? Hoping that everybody can see. All right, so that is the butter. And we need sugar. This is a sugar. Oh, great. So it is working. No, it's working. Okay, good. So this is the sugar. I love these big canisters. I buy sugar, 10 pounds at a time, flour 10, 20 pounds at a time. I'm not picky about my sugar for an ingredient, but I do buy higher end sugar, probably Domino sugar. Flour I am picky about. I put that on my wall the other day. I think it's the, what did I say? It was the Arthur flour maybe, with the red and the white bag. So maybe if you just see my counter, maybe the audio and the video is not together. I'm not too sure. I wish I was better at this part. And I will start with making the flour mixture. So 2 more ingredients that we need for that. We need salt. I like the Morton salt. And every good baker needs to, at the beginning of the holiday season, need to buy themselves a brand new, fresh canister. Hear that? Fresh baking powder. Okay? Beginning of the season, fresh baking powder, one of the most inexpensive parts of the whole recipe, and you want to make sure that it is fresh and that it's high quality. Okay, last thing is we need to have our pure almond extract. You can leave that out if you have allergies in your family, and pure vanilla extract. And so as some of the people that I learned from over the years will tell me, it doesn't matter how I make my sugar cookie dough. Doesn't matter how you make your sugar cookie dough. What matters is that your family likes your sugar cookie dough. So if your family doesn't like the almond flavoring, leave it out. If they are allergic or there's an issue in your family with almond, then leave it out. And what you want to do is think about adding extras of other extracts, because the extracts burn off when they are in the oven. Okay, so let me start. I also have half a cup of milk that's been sitting out for a little bit, and I have already cracked 2 eggs. and those are in this little ramekin. I'll probably, those 2 containers feel a little cold to me, so what I'll do is I'll probably run into the microwave and I'll put those in for about 10 or 15 seconds just to take the chill out of them. The butter also has been softened in the microwave, and around early, I would say the mid-2000s, the dairy industry decreased the amount of butter fat in butter. And so you used to be able to leave a stick of butter out on your counter and go out and run some errands and come back, whether it was summer or winter, and you'd be able to put your finger into the butter. You can't do that anymore. You could leave a stick of butter out on your counter all day long, and I promise you, the butter content is so low now that you can't do that. And so I put my butter in. Notice how I have it standing up. I like to make all the pieces a uniform size, and I put it in the microwave. It was up to 30 seconds today. So right from the fridge, I did 15 seconds, and then I checked it, another 5, another 5, another 5, up to 30 seconds. And so these are all my ingredients. So butter is salted, sugar, pure vanilla and pure almond extract, 2 eggs at room temperature, half a cup of milk at room temperature, and we're going to start to make the flour mixture, and I'll talk about how much salt and how much baking powder. I'll be repeating these amounts over and over. You will not see me post my recipe. It will be your job to write the recipe down. So let's get started. I have my extra bowl, and I'm going to be giving lots of tips tonight. So one of my tips with my flour, as you know, I had a whisk. And so one of my tips with my flour is that I give it a little whisk before I get going. So I have this nice big whisk, and I just get a little air into the flour. Maybe it's just because I like playing with the flour, I'm not sure. But I like to do that. And then I take my measuring cup and I dive into the flour. I don't do any radical tapping. I basically just level it off. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the last one is 5. Okay, so it's 5 cups of flour. Once I'm done with that, I can put my flour away, and I'm going to get my teaspoon, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of the baking powder that we opened up. That has a little leveler inside of it. So 1, 2 of those guys. And then we're going to do 1 teaspoon of salt. Now you're probably thinking, this girl's crazy. She's got salted butter and she has salt that she's putting in her cookie dough. Salt and sugar are best friends. The salt in the sugar brings out that sweet flavor. Okay, so that's what gives depth to the recipe. Now I do this first because the next time I use my teaspoon, I'm going to get it wet with the almond extract. So I always make my flour mixture first. Made this dough recipe, I don't even want to know how many times, and I have a system. I've made up to 5 to 7 batches at once. Those of you who have been around Jill Sweet Treats for a long time remember the order of the front end loader cookies and 15 batches of dough. And so that was a bit of a night in the kitchen making some dough. So my flour mixture is ready. I'm going to put it over with my milk, and it's going to be ready for the last stage in the recipe. Okay, so this is going to get a little noisy because now we're going to get the butter into the KitchenAid. And if you need to take your butter and you need to put it in the microwave, remember my recommendation was put it in the microwave for about 15 seconds and then get it so it's soft. And remember, my butter, I can put my finger and I can press it down. So let me take a look here. It was baking powder, and so it was 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of salt. Let me look back on the questions here. We look like we're doing pretty good. Jean Rizzo likes my tip on the brand new thing of baking powder. Definitely worth the money. And then Christy Coombs, if you're using unsalted butter, yes, I definitely do additional salt. I wouldn't know how much more, but maybe another teaspoon. You notice I was hardly you know, I wasn't being super careful with the salt when I put it in. I probably was up to around 1.5 teaspoons. I think it makes a huge difference in the recipe. Okay, so we're going to start by putting the butter into the KitchenAid, and pretty basic. Just get that butter in, and you want to get your KitchenAid started on the butter and just get it into the mixer, and then we're going to be adding in the sugar, and we're going to add in the extracts. And again, I warned you, might be a little noisy. Oops, I missed some butter there. So after you make a recipe so many times, you do get into a bit of a system. Making dough is very tiring. It's my least favorite part of the process. People had asked me in the past, you know, do you sell your dough? Would you make me just the dough? And it's time consuming, it's messy. This is a step I would do in one night, and I'm going to be talking about storage tips after, and put this away. I would not do anything else the night that I make dough. I'm happy with that. I just got the butter in there, got it started, and just, you know, can see it's kind of coating the sides, nothing special. If it was too cold, it wouldn't be breaking up like this. It would be, you'd hear it kind of clumping around in there. So you want your butter to kind of loosen up, and then we're going to add in 2 cups of sugar. And so 2 cups of granulated sugar, and I add it while it's mixing. Okay, so not sure if you can see that now, but it is starting to pull away from the bowl. So let me turn the flash on, and maybe you can see a little bit better. It's starting to pull away, starting to come together. Notice it doesn't look like butter anymore. It looks like sugary butter, okay? Starting to pull away from the side. And if you had a hand mixer, you would have great results with this dough. It would be just fine if you're using, I have a really nice KitchenAid mixer, hand mixer that I just got. I had one for years, and you know, it definitely works. It's just you can't walk around, right? You can't walk around when it's mixing. You have to hold on to it. So you see how it's really kind of coming together now. You've got to give it that time, because you want these ingredients to blend. A nice sugar cookie, the ingredients have all come together. Okay, so far we have 2.5 sticks of butter in there, and we have 2 cups of flour. Okay, next thing is I'm going to add my extracts. These are the all-stars of the entire cookie dough recipe. I learned a long time ago that extracts burn off in the oven, and we need to give extra extracts. So I'm going to do, for my vanilla, I'm going to do 2 very generous teaspoons of vanilla. It's the most expensive part of the recipe, and I've never ever, in 16 years of having the business, ever skimped on the extracts, even when the price of vanilla extract went through the roof. And then you have 1 teaspoon of pure almond extract, and you have to get pure. The pure almond extract has the oil in it, and you need to get that. If you don't want to put almond in, then do 3 teaspoons of vanilla. I always buy the largest size I can possibly get. I think I hit, what did I hit this week? Big Y, and there was a little bit of a sale on one of the extracts. So give that a mix. And you'll see it starts to change it a little. It's not as granular looking. It's starting to pull together now. And it's not as gritty. The extracts break that down a little. Now the next ingredient you're going to add is eggs. And I've already cracked my eggs. So if you haven't cracked yours yet, if you just took them out of the fridge, put your eggs in some kind of ramekin. If you don't have a ramekin, put them in a coffee cup. And just crack your eggs in there. And I think this started a million years ago when my kids were little. I would let them crack the eggs for anything that was going on in the house, but always in a separate bowl. And so I've always loved these ramekins. But I can feel this is cold. And Martha Stewart, one of my heroes, would never let me put cold eggs into this nice dough that we have going. That is all room temperature ingredients. So I'm going to run this into the kitchen. I'm going to hit it in the microwave for probably about 10 seconds and just give the bowl a feel. All right, world of difference. It took the microwave just 10 seconds, took the chill out of the eggs, and it's not cold anymore in the bottom of my hand. And I'm going to start the mixer, and I'm going to mix these eggs in. It's gonna get a little sloppy, but I'm gonna look for it to come back to uniformity. So 1 egg goes in. And then I'll put the other one in. This is where I will stop it and I'll give it a little bit of a scrape. So is Aunt Casey still on? So Aunt Casey lives out in Boise, Idaho. So this is interesting, being able to work with people from across the country. I've been doing cookie decorating classes at my house here for several years, and my husband Jeff said before, when I was getting ready, he's like, wow, this is not as much work for me here, or no work for me. Usually he's out directing traffic in our very long driveway. If you've ever been here before, you know what I'm saying. So fun to have people from everywhere, and less logistics. Now I don't want to go too crazy here. I don't want to go too crazy because the eggs will start to kind of take on a little bit of a fluffy consistency, and I don't want it to be too fluffy. But I'm looking right now as I'm kind of scraping around. I'm looking for any kind of like lost little pieces that are that need to be kind of incorporated. Okay, and I'm feeling pretty good about it. So let me just take a pause and let some people catch up. And I'll just give you another couple pieces of information about tonight's event. So with the COVID pandemic, you know, many events, many fundraising events, and many events that I've gone to in the past have been changed. They've been changed to virtual events, or they've been modified, or they've been postponed. And so in this event tonight, if you're enjoying the event and you are interested in making a donation to one of my top 3 foundations that I support, they are listed if you go to my wall on Facebook. I posted a couple things since Sunday morning. The Jeff Coombs Foundation, the Sergeant Daniel Vincelian Memorial Foundation, and ALS1 are 3 that I've listed for suggestions. I know that I have people that are going to donate to their local animal shelter. I have friends that have written to me to say that they're excited to pay it forward. And so in this season of giving, in the spirit of giving, I wanted to make sure that I reshared the focus of this night. Again, I am going to be closing Jill's Sweet Treats, and I want to make sure that I share some of the trade secrets that I've learned along the way. So if you're interested in baking with your family, you'll have the opportunity this holiday season. And I would also like to probably take this milk that I have. This is a half a cup of whole milk, which will be the next step in the recipe. I'm going to run this into the microwave as people catch up on their steps. And you're welcome, Allison. So nice that you can join us. Allison's one of my math friends. We've been mathing together for many years on the South Shore. And I know she's enjoying her retirement. So that milk will go in there for 10 seconds. Just take the chill out of it. And then our last step is to put this all together and to package it up. We have many bakers on the call tonight, friends of mine that have their own secret recipes and specialties that they've shared with me over the years, so I'm excited to be able to share tonight. Yes, Miss Bree, I am closing Jill's Sweet Treats. You know the story. I'm going to become a principal. And so I don't know any principals who can also run cookie businesses, but if I could, you know I would, but it is time. So big decisions being made, and this is the transition. And you're welcome, Christy Coombs. Christy has a very well-known chocolate chip cookie recipe here on the South Shore. If you've received cookies from Christy, you know that they are special. And you've probably done something special to deserve them. It is whole milk. I like to use whole milk in my cookie dough. It's a half cup. And if you have 1% milk at home, feel free to go ahead and put that in there. 2%, yes. And just I wouldn't do almond milk and I wouldn't do water. Christy, not yet. I still have 3 classes left and I have a practicum to complete. But I'm hoping at some point, maybe next year, maybe the year after. But it is a big step for sure. And I appreciate all the support I've had over the years for the business. It's been an absolute dream. When I was little, I wanted to have a pudding business and I wanted to sell pudding door to door. So cookies, pudding, pretty similar. So let's get this dough pulled together. So we have our 2.5 cups of butter, our 2 cups of sugar. We have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We have 1 teaspoon of almond extract. Both of those are pure extracts. We also have 2 eggs. We're going to start the mixer and I'm going to start pouring in the milk and pouring in the flour, pouring in the milk and pouring in the flour. And so it's going to be a little noisy, but we are going to do this. And I'm going to just be looking for this dough to start to come together and not to overmix it. All right, this dough is coming together really, really nice. And why I'm saying that is because it's pulling off the side of the bowl. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the dough to start to come together. It's okay that it's sticking to the hook. And I have a little bit of a mess up here on top of the paddle. So I'm gonna pull that down, and a little bit of mess up here. And if you have the smaller KitchenAid, one of my tricks to the trade is to have a towel. And if the flour starts to get crazy, you cover up the mixer and you just give it a little hug. And don't let the towel get pulled into the mixer, but that keeps you from getting your kitchen all dirty. So I always keep a towel by my hand. And this is where the smaller scraper comes in. I'll just kind of push down a little. And I can still see white flour, so I'm just gonna keep working it. Give the bowl a little scrape, but this is coming together really nice. And lower, and I'll probably just let it spin around a couple more times. All right, and that's it. So some of the keys here, if you've made cookie dough before, some of the keys here, things I've learned along the way, are room temperature ingredients. It makes everything happy. If you have, room temperature butter and cold eggs, they're not going to meet together like they should and like they could. Being prepared, having kind of everything measured out, makes you feel like you're on a cooking show, first of all. And second of all, it just, you're not running around kind of grabbing things as you go. And really just, finding good ingredients. And if you have high quality ingredients, you're going to have a high quality dough. So the next thing I want to do is show you how I get the dough out of the mixer and how I wrap the dough. So what are you going to use this dough for? You might not know. You might be thinking, I need to bake it right now, but you don't. We would never work with this dough within a 24-hour span. This dough is going to go into some saran wrap, and it's going to get wrapped up, and it's going to have some time to rest. And thank you guys, I'm reading your nice comments. Getting my next master's and getting my principal licensure is a huge undertaking for me. It's a huge step. I've been working on it since 2017. And so it's been quite a process. I've, in the middle of it, decided it wasn't what I wanted and took a break, and then had, some time to think, and I realized it was something that I did want, and I appreciate your kind words. Those mean a lot to me. So the next step with the dough is to get it off this paddle. If you have a KitchenAid and you have the paddle, the whisk, and the, what's the other one, the dough hook. I don't think I ever use the other ones. I use these all the time. Now, I don't know if you know me very well, but I don't really like getting my hands messy when I'm cooking. I will climb a mountain and I will, scrape my hands along rocks and do all that kinds of stuff. But when I'm cooking, I don't really like to get my hands dirty. So I use a lot of tools, a lot of scrapers, and, I try to get as much dough as I can off the dough hook, but it's not the end of the world if I don't. I'm usually making several recipes at the same time, several batches, and so I would just put that hook down and I would put it back into the mixer, and I would make another batch of dough. No need to wash that because it's going back to the same place. So we're just gonna scrape this bowl. I try to scrape as much as I can while it's in the bowl, and I'm gonna struggle to get it out. And I'm only gonna take half of this out and wrap it in saran wrap. I'm gonna do two wraps here. So get your dough out, and what you want to do, just make sure this is on camera. The big mixer's name is Daisy, by the way, in case I didn't say that. Daisy is always the star of the show at the beginning of the cookie process. And so what I try to do is make a rectangle. And so what I'm going to do is put this over the top, and put this over the top, and get this kind of nice rectangle going. And then just get some air out of it and give it a nice little wrap in your saran wrap. And the dough is very squishy. Remember, all those room temperature ingredients, you now have room temperature dough. You would not want to bake with that. So this is going in a 24-hour rest. Notice I'm double wrapping, because if I wrap this up and I put it in my fridge and I put it near the red onions that we had for dinner, I don't want my dough to taste like red onions. And so I wrap it up. I usually will also take my dough and put it into a Ziploc baggie, and I usually put my dough in the garage freezer where we just have, you know, beers and waters and stuff like that. I don't like it when it's near food. And so I take this dough, I put it in the refrigerator, and let's say 3 or 4 days from now, I think I'm not going to bake those cookies. That's not going to happen between now and, you know, the weekend. Just pop it in the freezer. The dough really defrosts really quick, and then you could just wake up on a Saturday, pull the dough out, and have yourself some baking, you know, within an hour, and you didn't have to wait, you know, a day for the dough. And then I'm going to wrap my other, so scrape out and wrap my other section of dough. So if we do this again, we get some feedback on how the video was. And if you want to do this again, what we can do is we can do some rolling out. We can roll out some dough. I can give you some tips on rolling out. But this dough would be great after it sets. It would be great if you just, you know, rolled out some cookies and practiced a little. The cookies will taste great. Remember all those awesome extracts that you put in there? The flavor will come right out for you. And then we do some rolling out tips, we can also talk about making some frosting. The frosting that we use on these is a royal icing. You can research royal icing on YouTube. There are a million great YouTube videos out there on royal icing. And royal icing takes a lot of time to perfect. You really, with royal icing, just need more and more opportunities to make it. One of my friends I'm getting my principal license with has taken a couple of my classes, and then she'll tell me, oh man, that royal icing, that's, you know, a project, but every time I do it, I get better and better at the royal icing. So here are my 2 things of dough. They're ready to go. Now you can see why, if you're making a lot of cookies, you have to just keep continuing of making of the dough, because you need a lot. So each one of these will give me about 20 cookies. And if I had a bigger cookie cutter, then obviously it would get less cookies. As far as cookie cutters, I can give you some more tips on this. Looks like there's some comments coming up that people are interested in doing some more classes. So here's a great pumpkin cookie cutter. I love these metal cutters, and I like deep cutters. I don't like a cutter that's really thin. I don't like a cutter that has detail in it. These are called the Comfort Grip. They're by Wilton, and I'm never going to give you a tour of my basement cookie cutter collection because I don't think the Wi-Fi would work down there. Let's just leave it at that. But I have hundreds and hundreds of cookie cutters. It's quite an obsession once you have a hobby, as you know, to continue to collect cookie cutters. And so each one of these batches will make about 20 cookies. Each one of these little packages would make about 20 cookies. So 40 altogether. And let me just scroll through the comments. The dough can stay in the freezer. I mean, dough doesn't last around here, but I'd leave it in the freezer for probably 3 months. Awesome, I'm seeing lots of friends from Norwood. Nice to see everybody was able to join today. Cookie decorating is something that definitely relaxes me at night, keeps me away from the emails. And so let's do some more classes. Looks like people are interested. I would love to be able to save this video so we could have a little collection, but the original way that I set the video up didn't work for me. So I'm not sure when I go to finish if I'm able to finish and save, but my plan is to be able to try to save this and to put it on my wall so we can have a little collection going on. So the next class would be rolling, and what you need for rolling is you need obviously a nice rolling pin. We would use more flour for rolling. I use parchment paper on my baking sheets. Reynolds sells a nice parchment paper. There's another brown craft paper. I know they sell it at Big Y and Stop and Shop. A nice parchment paper. And oven at 350. And your oven can be finicky, right? Some cookies on the top rack might get, look one way, the bottom rack look another way. I always rotate from the bottom to the top of my cookies. I always spin my pans. Cookies, I would say first tray that goes in 8 minutes, maybe 10. But there's a lot of moving the racks around and spinning. This dough, I would not attempt to bake this dough until tomorrow at about noontime. I would give it a nice little rest overnight. You could let it rest for, a couple days. It's not going to hurt it. The colder the dough, the better. And, but I would say no less than 12 hours. I've never, ever been able to make dough and bake them in the same day. Parchment paper or baking sheets. I'm not sure what you mean by parchment, by baking sheets. Maybe it's a parchment paper that's already cut to size, but I'll show you my parchment paper that I like for baking, and we can go over more of this next time. So Reynolds Kitchens parchment paper. It's not my favorite one. I like the brown craft one, but it works. Not wax paper. And not right on the pan. If you're fancy and you have those like Silpat, you could use those. You can certainly eat the cookie dough right out of the fridge. That would be what I hear from some people. I'll stay on for more questions, but again, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your consideration in donating to one of the funds that are near and dear to my heart. And maybe you have something that is near and dear to your heart. Yes, rubber baking mats. I will show you my mat that I roll out on. It's a rubber mat, but it's not for baking. Thank you, Kirsten. Yes, it is definitely a new adventure. Thank you for paying it forward. I have some very thoughtful friends. I really appreciate it. Pre-cut parchment paper. Oh, wow. Smart take. I'll have to check that out. Great. Nice to see you, Jen. I hope that you and Ellie enjoyed tonight. Thank you, Bree. We'll always have so many great memories of cookies and classes and all of the wonderful things. This is my hat that I had this in the basement. It was still in a bag, and so we'll have to keep this one. It's a keeper. Good old Jill Sweet Treats. I'll look at my calendar, Christine, and see if I can do another class maybe next week. I would love to do Wednesdays. Thank you, Jean. Jean, my friend Jean has been a huge part of Jill Sweet Treats and the Jill Sweet Treats success. Love you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nice to hear from you, Beth. Take care. Hi, Cousin Kristen. Awesome. Tell your Jill that I say hello. Awesome. Great. There you go, Mrs. McDonough. You've got cookie dough now. Awesome. I'm glad that you were able to join. Thanks. Awesome. Oh, how thick do you roll out the cookies? That's a good question. I don't know. I go thicker than you probably think. I don't know. That's a good one. I've never really measured. They definitely puff up when you cook, but I think thicker is better for sure. Thanks, Chanley. Thanks, Cindy. I hope the girls were able to enjoy Chanley. Maybe they can be on dough duty. Awesome. Thanks, Aunt Kathleen. My Aunt Kathleen gave me the courage to do this, this live and gave me some tips. Thank you. Awesome. Oh, good. I'm glad that Deb got to join. I'm glad the technology worked. Thank you to the Smith family. Hello to my pals. Awesome. I'm so glad you could join. Yay, my cousin in Vermont. Awesome. Yes, you have been waiting for years, my friend. Well, I hope that Gideon and Rylan get some cookie dough and the mister also. Great. Awesome. Well, this was so much fun. It didn't take that long at all. When I make dough in my kitchen by myself, it is kind of a boring event. So having you all here was great. Yes, lots of flavor. So the extracts definitely make the flavor come alive. Awesome. And I will say hi to the kids, Christy. They are always asking about you, and they love the pictures of your new puppy. Awesome. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'm going to wrap up now and hopefully be able to save this to my wall. Awesome, Christine. I hope that it saves. And I'll look at my calendar and maybe we can get together next week and we can do some baking and talk about how we would decorate these cookies. All right, guys. Awesome. Thank you. Hey, Leah, how are you?